Live 5 News reports recently that more than 2.1 million passengers have flown in and out of the Charleston International Airport over the past 6 months of 2018. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down one-on-one with State Senator Paul Campbell with the Charleston County Aviation Authority. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview later on the free Quintin's Close-Ups iHeartRadio podcast. Senator Campbell.
Good to be with you, Quintin.
Oh, I appreciate this greatly.
It's going to be fun this morning. We'll have fun, and I can tell you some good stories, I hope, about what's going on. Good news, good news.
And you talk about the good news. Live 5 News reports this, quote, Delta Airlines Flight 1350 departs today at 11:30 every day and will upgrade from an MDAA to a 757D aircraft that seats 199 people. Talk to me about that experience.
Oh, listen, that is great news, because basically what that tells you is the growth in Charleston. MD-88s of the older planes are going away. They have limited capacity, and because of our growth here, Delta's starting to bring in 757s, which is a large plane. It seats roughly 200 passengers, and that's because of the growth. We've got growth two ways: growth coming into the airport from people wanting to come to Charleston, and people from Charleston wanting to go out and see parts of the world, most of the United States, but also parts of the world. It's great to see the growth happen. We're going to be roughly 10% above last year. Last year we were right at 4 million, about 3,999,000 or something like that. So this year we're going to hit something about 4.3 million. And it just shows growth. People want to come here. People that live in this part of the world want to go to places in the world. They want to go see. So, and we're seeing it both in tourism, and we're real proud of what Helen Hill and the Convention Business Bureau does on what, we're number one now on the American Express Business Magazine. We're number one in Condé Nast. We're number one in Travel Leisure Magazine. So we got a lot of folks that want to come and see what we got here. We're not a well-kept secret anymore. We're widely known throughout the world, and people want to come to Charleston.
And you talk about that, 2.1 million passengers, more than 2.1 million passengers flew in and out of Charleston during the first 6 months of 2018. Like you mentioned, a 10% increase over the same 6 months from 2017.
Correct.
And you said we knocked it out of the ballpark in June.
June was a great month for us, and July is going to be better. August will probably be as good or better. We actually, the two slow airports, and they're not even slow anymore. About 4 or 5 years ago, the slow months in January and February would have been bigger than our big months today. But we started January, February. We started increasing when the Southeast Wildlife comes to town in February. That's when the travel season starts, and the flight goes up, the passenger load goes up. And really from March, April, May, June was a great month. July is going to be even better than June. And we're going to continue to grow. And so we've got to look at the airport. We've got a 5-year strategic plan. We've got to make sure that we're ready for the growth. We've got to look ahead exactly what we're going to need to be doing as far as managing the gates, managing the concourses, managing the ticket lobby. Parking is going to be a big issue for us. We start in January. We'll break ground on a 3,000 space parking deck. Which causes a little bit of issue, because while we're building it, we're going to have some parking issues, but we got a plan to deal with those. So that will take care of the parking for us, because we fill up the parking on a routine basis, which is why we always tell people, get to the airport at least 2 hours before you fly. An hour and a half is the absolute minimum, because it may take you 25 or 30 minutes to find a place to park. So then it gives you time to get to the terminal, to get your tickets, get through security, and relax on the other side, so you can take advantage of the retail shops we have and take advantage of the food and beverage places we have. We got some really nice restaurants downstairs.
That's so good to hear. And the article from live5news.com goes on to say this, quote, so far for this year, over 1 million people have boarded a plane in Charleston, bound for one of the 25 cities and 30 airports. Another 1 million passengers arrived in Charleston on a flight provided by one of the 8 airlines serving Charleston. Talk to me about those top airports that people are flying into Charleston from.
Well, we got several flights every day to Washington, to New York, to Boston. We got several flights a day to Detroit. We even got a couple now going to Nashville. We go to the Texas airports, both in Dallas and Houston. We go to Miami and to Fort Lauderdale. We go to Nashville, Tennessee. You can go up and listen to good music. We go to Chicago, several flights a day, and our long flight is to Seattle, Washington. We go to Denver. We've got flights going to Indianapolis. We've got flights going to Cincinnati. We got flights going to Pittsburgh. We got flights going to Austin, Texas. And that's probably not all of them, but we got flights going to a lot of big cities in the country that people want to go see. But the good thing is it allows those people to come here. We like for the people to come in here, spend their money for the local merchants and the hotels and the restaurants and the tourist destinations, and then they can fly back home.
Yeah.
So that's important to us. But we also have a lot of business things going on. You've got the Volvo that's about ready to start a building. I think within this month or so they'll be actually building cars at Volvo. They're going to come in with about 2,000 employees with their plan to go to 4,000 employees over the next 2 or 3 years. You got Mercedes that's just now starting to build the Sprinter vans, which is about 5 miles from the airport.
Right.
And you got our big brother next door to us over here, Boeing, that continues to grow and get better. And we got all the other businesses in town, whether they be Robert Bosch, whether they be Capstone and the paper business, whether they be the Nucor and the steel business, whether it be a Century and the aluminum business, or even more than that, the digital business. There's now probably 30,000 people that work in the Charleston area in the digital business that need to fly to sell their software. And that's an area we're going. We may not be Silicon Valley, but we are Silicon Harbor in Charleston now.
Oh, that's so good to hear. And you said this quote, "It is our best June yet, thanks to our airline partners and all those people and businesses who work in the airport to help make travel through Charleston a seamless and exceptional experience." Like you mentioned, we are on track to top 4 million passengers in 2018. That will be a major milestone for Charleston. Talk to me about the relationships between the airline partners and your businesses.
We've got 8 very good airline partners now. Delta, we've got American, we've got Southwest, we've got JetBlue, we've got United, we've got Alaska, we've got Frontier, and we've got Allegiant now. So we've got 8 great airlines. We're always looking to bring other airlines in. They work with us every day. We've got great rental car facilities now. We've got all your major rental car people here at the airport. We've got people that repair airplanes. We've got people in all the shops that do the selling on retail, all the restaurants that do the food and beverage. We've got people that do the TSA to make sure we're safe. Our number one priority in this airport is always going to be safety. And sometimes people get upset with us when we don't fly when the weather's bad, or when we can't fly when the weather's bad, or we get delayed because of some safety issue. But safety is number one. You know, you can't get up in that big bird in the sky and it be unsafe. So TSA does a great job of screening passengers, and they pick up a table big as the table you and I are sitting at weekly of stuff that shouldn't be taken on an airplane.
Right.
So safety is number one. We've got probably in the neighborhood of 1,300 people that work at the airport on a day-to-day basis to make a living. We've got roughly 190 of those people work for us directly. The rest of them work for all the other different people that are providing services at the airport, including the safety services that TSA does. We even have Customs and Border Patrol here. So we're equipped to handle just about any situation with an airplane.
And you talked to me off camera, obviously, about how busy you are with the state business, with the airport business. What is it like for you, Senator Paul Campbell?
Well, it's a challenge sometimes to spread my time over all the things that I need to do, whether it's in Columbia working for the good of the people of South Carolina, especially District 44, which I represent, which is a good bit of Berkeley, a good bit of Dorchester, and a good bit of Charleston County. So I represent all 3 counties up there to make sure we're getting our fair share from the state, and we're getting our issues heard in the state, and we're getting our issues resolved. That's fun and that's challenging. I'm right now the co-chair for the study committee for Santee Cooper to evaluate exactly what we're going to do as far as resolving the issues with the power plant that did not get completed. And it's a burden on the back of the ratepayers, so we got to look at that. We're also working with a lot of other issues such as transportation. Our roads are not nearly big enough to handle the traffic and the growth we're seeing. Depending on who you listen to, we've got somewhere between 40 and 60 people a day moving into the low country, and I think that includes the birth rates of births over deaths, but that's a lot of folks coming in, and we've got to make sure we got the infrastructure to support that. So we got to make sure our roads are safe. I think right now in the state we have over 1,000 bridges in the state throughout South Carolina that are structurally deficient, and so we got to be careful, get those back up to par. We got to get more capacity on the roads going to Columbia, on the interstates, on 95. We're cutting across North Carolina, Georgia. That keeps you thinking, and it keeps you busy on that side. Plus the growth in the Tri-County area. We got to make sure that we're handling all the issues there with the jobs that we're creating, and we got to look at affordable housing, and we got to look at all those type of issues. We got to make sure we have transportation to get our workers downtown, because Charleston County doesn't have a lot of low-income homes. They got some, but they don't have enough. So a lot of the low-income homes are moving out to Berkeley and Dorchester, even the upper parts of Berkeley and Dorchester. So those folks need to make a living. We've got to make sure we get them downtown. So there's a lot of local issues I work on in addition to running an airport. But But it does keep you moving.
Yes.
Keeps you. There's not much to sit around and think about stuff. You got to keep doing things and make it. You got to make things happen.
Oh yes.
You know, my dad told me a long time ago, you make things happen. You don't wait for things to happen. So I've got a real challenging lifestyle between an airport and then the little bit of time I can spend with my wife and my children and my family. So, but it's fun. I'm having a good time.
Right. And you talked about it. I-26, the South Carolina Department of Transportation is asking a lot from the residents. City leaders are holding a meeting tonight to hear proposals for what is being called the I-26 Corridor Management Plan. And that goal, as you mentioned, try to alleviate traffic on a 34-mile stretch from I-26 to Ridgeville to downtown Charleston. And that plan includes reducing traffic during peak hours, upgrading traffic signals, and adding high occupancy vehicles HOV lanes. What type of proposals do you want to hear?
Well, the HOV lanes are something you can't do unless you add another lane. An HOV lane, a high occupancy vehicle lane, is for buses and those type of things. But you can't do it on the existing lane on the interstate, so you got to add another lane to do that. But we're in the process of looking at what we can do to increase the capacity. You can either do HOV lanes or you can do toll lanes. The HOV lanes means you have to have at least 2 people in the vehicle to drive up. And so that would take some of the load off the interstates. The Volvo is a really good example of how we need to grow our businesses, because Volvo is in the upper part of Berkeley County. And so basically traffic is going out in the morning instead of coming in the morning and going in the afternoon instead of going out. So we need to balance how we do that. We got to look at work schedules too. But you know, we got 3 lanes all the way now to past 199, exit 199,
right.
And the plans are already made and the funding is there to take it a half mile past 194. So we'll have 3 lanes on each side going past 194. And now we need to go from about 187, which is where we're going to end up, because that's where the Volvo plant's located, with 3 lanes on each side of the interstate. We got to look at going from 187 all the way to about 125 near Columbia, so that we got 3 lanes going all the way to Columbia. You know, our interstates are very dangerous too, with the capacity limited. We actually kill about 20-some people a week on our interstates, and we got to stop doing that. And on our roads and stuff, not just interstates, but all of our roads and stuff. We got to quit doing that. We put 100 people in the hospital each week. So we got to look at safety on our roads, safety on our infrastructure systems, safety on our bridges. We've got a plan put together that over the next 15 or 20 years we will restore capacities, we'll restore the bridges, we'll make them safe again, we'll do the paving that we need to do. So we got funding coming in that with the improvement in the motor fuel user fee, or what people colloquially call a gasoline tax. So we're trying to invest that money back into the state infrastructure to keep people safe, to keep people from being stuck in gridlock traffic, and to keep people moving all the time.
And you know, when I interviewed Nancy Mace last week for Quintin's Close-Ups, I asked her this direct question: where's her confidence in the Department of Transportation? Where is yours?
I have a high degree of confidence in the Department of Transportation. We have probably the best Secretary of Transportation I think the state's had in a long, long time. She's got a good staff around her. She's done amazingly a lot of work with a limited amount of resources. People think just because we've gone up 4 cents a gallon on our motor fuel user fee or gasoline tax, we ought to be doing more work. Now I hear people complaining about the orange cones they see on the road.
Right.
That's progress. That's fixing roads we should have fixed a long time ago, because now we're giving DOT some resources to do that work with. Before they were limited. We have 41,000 road miles that DOT has to maintain in South Carolina. That's the 4th highest road miles in the United States. 4th highest. Well, it's not the 4th biggest state, but we've loaded DOT up and we've given a limited amount of resources to try to get all that work done. So maybe now, over the next, we got 4 more increases on the gasoline tax to take it to 28 cents a gallon. And by then we'll have enough fuel, coming in money, resources, so that we can build the roads and bridges. North Carolina's at 37 cents a gallon right now in our motor fuel user fee, the gasoline tax. Georgia's at 34 cents a gallon. So we won't even be close to where Georgia and North Carolina is when we get this thing finished in 4 more years. But DOT has to have the capital to do the work, to expand the interstates, to fix the bridges, to make the roads safer again. And we're giving them that now. We've got to give them time to get contractors back in. We're keeping a lot of people busy now doing road work. But because we were limited on how we could fund, a lot of our contractors had gone out of South Carolina. Now they're moving back into the state because we're coming up with enough work to make good things happen for the state.
And
We've got to do that on safety.
You talked earlier about Santee Cooper. When you heard the news that some of the senators are really suing Governor McMaster over his interim appointment of Charlie Condon, what were you telling yourself?
Well, basically, the governor's trying to do what he thinks is the best call, and we'll let the courts decide whether he's correct or not. It's called a recess appointment. Charlie Condon is a very good man, and I think Charlie hopefully will be eventually confirmed to be the chair of the Santee Cooper Board of Directors. But it's up to the General Assembly to, the Senate to approve that nomination. There's been a couple of hearings done on it, but we didn't get quite all finished. It's done through the Judiciary Committee, and I'm on the Finance Committee. But they didn't quite get through with all the hearings they wanted to do with it. So hopefully we'll get that done in January, February, and put him in there. But our Constitution, I don't think, allows a recess appointment like the federal government has. So the courts may decide otherwise. So I think this is, I don't think the governor is upset with the Senate. The Senate's not really upset with the governor. We just have two different opinions on what the Constitution allows. And that's what we've got a judiciary for. You got the executive, you got the legislative, and you got the judiciary. We're going to let the judiciary make the call on this one.
And let me get back to the airport. I know you brought in a couple of businesses just recently. Talk to me about more when it comes to diversity businesses in your mind.
Well, we're really proud of what we've been able to do on the diversity side. We now have 4 kiosks in the airport, which is local businesses,
right.
Homegrown products,
Right.
that we want to see shared with the traveling public. It gives these businesses a chance to see if their wares sell widely. We want to expand that program as much as we can, and we want to do some good things at the airport for local diversity businesses and get them in here. We have diversity complements on the large contractors that do the food and beverage, that do the retail. They have to have a diversity component in that contract. But now we want to give the small businesses a chance to come out here to get them established, and maybe even set up shop here, or maybe even expand their business downtown with revenue that's coming in here. We got 4 really good businesses in the airport now, and they're doing very well on the kiosk. We're in the process of opening we call it the Charleston Club. It's going to be an executive type lounge. It's going to be at the airport, but puts us at another level with other airports in the country.
Right.
And we're looking at expanding other services, connections with Charleston too, other destinations.
And if I were to interview you for Quintin's Close-Ups a year from now, what would you tell me about the Charleston International Airport?
I hope you tell you we've got even more destinations for people to choose that we can go to. Even we're looking at some international stuff. We're looking at some other things. Now, whether we can pull all this off is a matter of time.
Okay.
We will eventually get there, but can we do it in the next year or not? But we are continually talking to other destinations, potentially about coming to Charleston. Let's go into those destinations. Also, hopefully we'll be doing better at the ticket lobby. We'll have full-blown construction going on at the parking facility, the new parking deck. We'll be managing more people because we're anticipating that roughly 10% growth next year than over this year. So yeah, we're already a mid-sized hub, travel hub for as we're rated by the by FAA,
Right.
and so we're going to continue to grow. But we got to grow with it. We can't wait till the growth comes and then try to put the facilities in. We got to put the facilities in as we got it. So it's going to keep us busy. But our 5-year strategic plan, looking ahead, what we need to add, even looking at Concourse C at the airport, we're looking deeply at some of those type of things. We have to have a strategic plan that looks at 10 or 15 years. We have to have an action plan for 5 years.
Okay.
And that's what we're really trying to do.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, Senator Paul Campbell, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
It's fun, Quintin, and I've enjoyed doing it and sharing the information I can share with the public.
Let's
Thank
do
you
this
for the
again.
opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome anytime.
You got it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.